Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center. Welcome to Knife AQ number 39. Today, we're answering all your Blade Show questions. Well, a lot of them anyway, whether they're sharp or dull. Let's get into it. So yes, this is our Blade Show edition of Knife AQ. It's about a week after the show by the time this video is posted. We're all still a little bit tired, I think, even by the time we're filming this, but we had such a blast down in the show. It was great to be back out on the road. Thank you to everyone else out there also who came up to say hi to me and say you were enjoying the videos here. I really appreciated that. It's been 2 years since the last Blade Show actually happened, and this channel has grown a lot since then. So just gotta say, it was really flattering, and thank you guys so much. But on to the content for today. Next week will be just a regular Knife AQ. We'll be back in the rotation, so if you want a chance to have one of your questions featured, just leave those in the comments below. But let's get into today's first question, which comes from TMC and a bunch of numbers. What were your top five favorite knives that you saw at Blade Show 2021? All right, getting right into it. So what I'm gonna do is, the thing with Blade Show is there's production company stuff that happens there, but then there are a lot of custom makers that are at the show. And there's a ton of great stuff there. But what I'm gonna do for this kind of top five, I'm gonna keep it to the production stuff so that folks out there watching this might have a chance to get your hands on some of these items. I think first and foremost, the knife that would probably have to take best in show on the production side of things is the Demko AD 20.5, which I've got a sample of right here. These knives are just really cool. There's been a lot of buzz around Demko's AD 20 model, which is a larger version of this, because of the shark lock right here. It's a new locking mechanism that Demko came up with. He's got a lot of experience with very strong locking mechanisms. Cold Steel's Triad lock comes from Mr. Demko. And this new one, this shark lock, is kind of the next evolution in his kind of lock genius. It's extremely strong. I don't remember whether it was him saying it or other people making the claim, but it should be at least as strong, if not stronger, than the Triad lock, which is very impressive. Plus, you also get the advantage of being able to do some of that wrist flick stuff while keeping your fingers away from the blade edge itself, which is really nice. It's got that excellent action. Of course, you could do it more slowly as well. But the reason these have been so hot is the US made versions of the full size have been really hard to get a hold of, really well sought after. And these are coming in right now. The first batches from Demko are just making their way to dealers, and they're imported from Taiwan. You've got an FRN handle and an AUS 10 blade on them. A little pricey maybe for the materials. They're coming in about $150, but that's not slowing you guys down. This is just a fantastic little knife, and I'm really excited for these to start showing up in greater numbers very soon. Now, I don't have samples of the next two knives I'm going to mention, but we will show you footage, of course, from the show itself. But CJRB came with a new drop point flipper called the Scoria, which I'm really liking. There's two versions. There's a flat-handled version and a contoured scale version. The contoured one is where it's at. Now, the colors they showed on the model at the show were maybe a little bit out there for me, but the feel in the hand was fantastic. Now, even though those scales are contoured, it's still a pretty thin knife overall, both in the blade stock, nice and slicey, and in the handle itself. So it's gonna carry very easily, feel very good, and especially with some layered materials, it's gonna look nice as well. And you've got the RPM 9 steel, if I'm remembering correctly, as well, which, I mean, altogether comes into a very compelling package and something that's gonna work for a lot of people very nicely. All right, so next up is a new button lock flipper from CIVIVI, and they're calling it the Cogent. And button lock flippers have been all the rage in the last couple of years, but on the affordable side of things, there's not that many that are really kind of hanging up there with some of the more expensive options in terms of the action. And this one's getting pretty close. There's definitely some better stuff out there action-wise, but not at the prices we're gonna be looking at for this CIVIVI. Unlike the button lock Elementum, where it's not an auto, but you do have to press the button in order for the blade to be able to open, this guy operates just as you'd expect. You'd be able to flip it open without pushing that button lock down, and then it's got that nice drop shut action as well. Nice aggressive clip point shape to the blade. I think it's going to be a very great EDC, as well as maybe some tactical users out there, although probably suggest it more for the EDC uses. But they had the prototype at the show, and it is really fantastic. They had D2 on the proto, but the final production may change a little bit, but definitely one to keep an eye on. All right, next up is the ProTech Runt, the new, I think it's the 5th generation of this little knife. Really cool little guy. This particular one right here is one of the Blade Show editions, but standard editions coming out are going to have a 20 CV blade, not with this this mirror polish on the grind, but I think it's going to be a stone-washed 20 CV, and they're going to have blade shapes inspired by their Malibu. Speaking of, button lock flippers, you're going to have this modified Wharncliffe and a reverse Tonto, both in a sub 2-inch California compliant size. It's also got a really nice detail that I think really sets it apart from both previous generations as well as other knives of any genre out there, not just autos. But rather than putting jimping on the thumb area here, it's actually a section of dimpling where it's kind of machined into the aluminum in this case. And it's not, as I said in the video from the show, it's not really bitey or sharp, but it really does lock your thumb into place quite well. It gives you a pretty solid hold on what is a 3-finger grip knife in all other instances. Very, very cool. And of course, on top of that, it's just a tiny auto with a deep carry pocket clip and excellent action. It never, ever gets old, especially when its action is good as a ProTech. All right, last but not least is a prototype that Spyderco showed us, which is a larger version of this knife, which is the Enuff, which if they don't call it the Big Enough, I think they're missing an opportunity there. But whereas the standard Enuff has a 3-inch blade, the bigger Enuff is going to have a just under 4-inch blade. So it still comes in at an important length in terms of compliance reasons, but you've got more reach for your EDC needs, maybe even a little bit better for the tactical style or the tactical uses where this knife might find itself pressed into. And that same kind of great leaf-shaped blade here with the full flat grind. You've got excellent cutting geometry and just a really nice handle. I can get all 4 of my fingers on this handle just, like really big hands might be a little cramped, but it's a really nice shape. You've got the bidirectional FRN as well as some nice swells and contours going on. Not quite sure when this is eventually going to find its way to the market, but it is going to be so sweet when it does. All right, so that is my top 5 picks for production knives from Blade Show 2021. So let's get into the next question. And surprise, surprise, we've got a lot of questions about that Demko knife, so I'll take care of a couple of them right here. 138 Vicious asks, any word when you will fill the pre-orders of the AD 20.5? Yes, so we did manage to get just a small quantity from Demko at the show, and we have already filled the first of the pre-orders that came in for this knife. But our initial shipment, our initial allotment from Demko should be on its way as you're watching this video, at least when it's first posted. So we hope to be clearing out those pre-orders very soon. You guys responded to it in a really big way. We actually had to close off those pre-orders. So the folks on the tail end of that, just to be fully upfront with you guys, hopefully we're going to have enough in our initial allotment to get you guys. If not, we do have more scheduled for later next couple of months as well. But it's just been a really hot knife and a really hotly anticipated blade to get a hold of. So we would definitely appreciate your patience as we work through those pre-orders. So thank you very much, guys. Next question is Damien JR 4923. Is Andrew Demko done with Cold Steel? I know Lynn Thompson sold the company. Yes, it seems that is the case, yeah. So it was, hold up the knife again, why not? Beginning of this year, end of last year, essentially, the news broke that Lynn Thompson had sold Cold Steel to GSM Outdoor, and that Lynn Thompson and Andrew Demko were going to be staying on with the company as in sort of advisory role on the new models coming out. But I think Demko actually chose to take that opportunity to strike out on his own path instead. And I'm not sure in what capacity Mr. Thompson is still working with the company, but yeah, it's that's why we're seeing this particular knife show up as a Demko branded knife rather than a cold steel. So we're really excited to see what he does with this brand under his own name, with some of these kind of cold steel competitive prices on some of his models. I think there's a very bright future indeed. All right, next question comes from deleted username GE. Looks like you got cut off a little bit on my screenshot there, sorry. What was the biggest surprise of Blade Show this year? I'd have to give that to Case Knives with their Marilla flipper that they brought. Obviously very much a departure for the classic slip joint maker in the States these days, at least the one that's most commonly thought of and recognized. They have done a couple flipper collabs with Southern Grind in the past, but this is the first flipper. They brought two new designs, but the Marilla, I think, is definitely the more solid one. That really, you know, they're the first ones that were actually built in their Pennsylvania factory, essentially alongside the slip joints. And for the first outing, man, they did a phenomenal job with these knives. And they're actually priced really nicely too. Aluminum handles, S35 VN blades, and ball bearings in the pivot with great flipping action for like 130 or so bucks, made in the USA. Really, really compelling options that they've brought out. Unfortunately, we didn't get time to film those flippers, which I'm really upset about, especially because they won, I think it was North American Knife of the Year Blade Show Award. We'll correct that up here if it's something different. But you know, a few things I might have liked to see maybe just a little bit differently for me personally, but they did a really, really good job, and it means really promising things for Case, finding a new avenue for some different styles of designs and finding some new customers that might not have ever bought a Case knife before. I think these are going to be really, really well received. All right, next question from FOXA, or FOXA perhaps we'll say. What was the best new innovation? Have to give that to a new steel that was actually announced a couple of months ago, CPM MagnaCut, which made a huge splash here at the Blade Show. It's a new steel that was kind of formulated by Laren Thomas over at Knife Steel Nerds, which is a fantastic resource, by the way. It's kind of deep dive, gets a little bit into the weeds on steel stuff, but there is so much good information there. And he created something which I really think is going to be a bit of a game changer in steel available for knives, because it used to be you could have toughness, you could have corrosion resistance, and you can have edge holding, but you can only have like kind of two things as the dominant traits of a steel. But this new MagnaCut stuff is supposed to have the toughness and the edge retention of something like Crewware or 4V, kind of in that arena, which is already a great place to be. But those steels aren't stainless. MagnaCut is. Really a lot of good things going for it. And it was absolutely kind of the talk of the town at Blade Shows. You know, the word was on everybody's lips, and there were some knives to be had at the show in MagnaCut. We managed to score a few, which you'll be seeing here on the videos as well as on our website very soon. Just really exciting stuff. And even though it was announced a couple of months ago, this was really its big splash debut at Blade Show. So definitely CPM MagnaCut. All right, next up, Knife vs. Knife asks, pick up any new knife makers or brands to start selling on the website. Yeah, we did pick up a few, both on some smaller custom sides as well as some production companies we're looking to start working with. Again, you'll start seeing more of that on the videos here, but I wanted to highlight two here in the video that are longtime friends of mine that I've finally been able to bring some of their things into the KnifeCenter. First up is Big Chris, Chris Berry, Big Chris Custom Knives. Makes a phenomenal knife. One of my favorite knives I own, period, is a kitchen knife he made for me, and managed to pick up a handful of knives from him this weekend, including this DP Hunter, I think was the name, if I'm remembering correctly, in that MagnaCut steel. So really nice. Pricing on these, and these next two are going to be up shortly, but you've got just over 4 inches, or just about 4 inches of MagnaCut. Not too thin. Chris does a very, very thin edge, or a very, very thin blade very well. This one is a little bit thicker, so you're gonna have a little bit more usage in the quote unquote tougher situations. And the best thing, I hesitate to say the best thing. There's two best things about a Big Chris knife. One is the handles themselves. Just in terms of the feel in the hand, it's some next level comfort for sure. Feels phenomenal, and if you've ever seen Big Chris, he comes by his name honestly. And next to him, his wife looks incredibly, incredibly small. So what he essentially does is he'll engineer out these handles so that it feels good in his hand as well as his wife's hand. And when he can get to that spot, he knows he's got pretty much everyone covered. And yeah, they're excellent. The other thing he really does very nicely are the edges themselves. He really pays attention to what any given steel he's using on this knife works best at, and will tailor the edge to kind of complement the characteristics of the steel he's using. Just really phenomenal stuff. His Kydex, man, his Kydex is also fantastic stuff. This particular one, we've got a Fire Dog canvas micarta handle, which is sort of a fire hose canvas, a nice thick weave. And check out these edges on the Kydex themselves. Each layer is finished nicely and individually. Just phenomenal stuff. So yeah, look for the Big Chris stuff to begin popping up on the website very soon, if not already by the time this video goes up. It might be a little tight timing wise because we got a ton of stuff at the show that we're still trying to get added to the website. Other one I really was really happy to pick up was Fiddleback Forge. Andy Roy has been making great knives for years. I've wanted to bring them on for a while, and now is kind of the perfect time because he used to have a bunch of employees at Fiddleback Forge, turning out a decent number of knives, but he's just recently scaled back his operation to just him, so he can focus on some kind of higher end, even more ambitious projects than the Fiddleback Forge was turning out just a couple of months ago. But you can really see that on this particular Forager model. We picked a few knives up from Andy this weekend, but this one is by far the most impressive. It's probably going to come in around the $1,500 mark, maybe a skosh more. I don't have again, it's not on the site yet, so I don't have the price in front of me, but hand-forged W2, excellent hamon going on there, bog oak scales, and you've got some of those signature Andy Roy elements, like the pin pattern he uses is always very distinctive. You get the nice bullseye lanyard tube here at the back, which he actually has a design patent on, so he's the only one who can make a lanyard tube like that. Tapered tang on this guy, a couple sets of contrasting liners. He was posting pictures of this on his Instagram before the Blade Show, and I was really hoping he'd have it at the show because I knew we were going to have to scoop it up. Very, very glad we did. So those are just two of the new makers and new brands that are going to be showing up on the website very soon. We'll make sure to leave a link to all of our new Blade Show pickups down below in the comments. All right, next question comes from Doggo Party. Are you able to try all the knives? Not a chance, man. Even if Thomas and I weren't running around the show floor doing interviews and we were just walking around looking at stuff, there's still no way we would be able to see everything, much less pick everything up and try all the knives. If you haven't been to Blade Show, man, you gotta go. Like there's no place like it in terms of just the sheer quantity of sharpened steel in one room. We're knife people. It's where we gotta be. So no, I wish we could, but no. F Marine DC asks, how difficult is it to produce, film, and edit excellent content while at Blade Show? You all don't miss a beat. Thank you very much for that. It is hard work. Like I said, Thomas and I are constantly moving. We've got interviews set up with makers at certain times, and if we're able to finish up early with one of those, rather than really going around and saying, all right, let's go look at something now, it's like, all right, who else can we film in this 30-minute, 20-minute window we might have left, and then we go try and do that. And then it's a lot of hard work on the editing side as well. We've got a great team behind us helping us with that. How difficult is it? It's just nonstop, essentially.
Very tired.
It's very tiring. We all had a nice little nap in the van, the big van we rented on the way back from the show. Next question, I combined a few focuses together because this sentiment was coming up a few times, and I want to address it a little bit. So A. Malcolm says, come on, where are all the new knives? Is anyone buying the explanations that they're waiting to release new products? Sounds like they weren't ready for this Blade Show in time. Throwing that out there in general on everybody, the general trend was a lot of companies didn't have as many new things to show right now. Even some of the ones that are known for bringing scads of new models, like CJRB is a good example. We had what, 6, 7 new knives?
A handful.
Yeah. Normally he'll have a full table and we'll have to be telling him, no, put that back, no, put that back. We don't have time to cover everything. And you guys know Russell at Artisan and CJRB, he just wants to talk knives. And the reason for that is, it's not because people are slacking, companies are not prepared. It's just, it has been a difficult year on the supply chain side of things. It's the same reason a lot of really popular models like Spyderco Shaman have been out of stock for a long time. Is you can't, it's hard to just make more when the materials are delayed or not even available to make the stuff. And that's across all industries, not just the knife industry. So the fact that we were still able to have a blade show and see new knives at all, and let's be honest, a decent amount of new knives, just not the number we may be accustomed to from these folks in the past. It's a lot to be thankful for with that, quite honestly.
You guys were also buying a lot of knives.
You guys, yeah, this is your fault, because you guys have bought a lot of knives over the last year and a half since the whole COVID thing started, which is really between shutdowns and between increased demand. It's just been so difficult just for companies to keep up with the existing products, much less bring out new stuff. So it's your fault. Next question. Nathan Netic, curious about the tritium on that Hogue Deka. Why is he charging it with a flashlight? You're talking about the Blade Show Deka that had a tritium insert in the thumb stud itself. He did shine a light on that during our interview to help it shine out, not because he was charging it up, but just because the black light he was using helped it show up on camera. With in the lighting in the day like that, it's hard for something like that to pick up. So that just kind of accentuated the glow to show to you guys. Next question, MoFire54. What were those loops on the new Condor sheath for? Thanks for remembering. So we showed you this Condor Mountaineer trail right before Blade Show on our new knives video, and the sheath on this knife had some rather different looking loops on the back, and I told you we'd ask Joe Flowers himself what those were for. Joe didn't actually design this knife. I thought he had. So I showed it to him. I said, so hey, what were those for anyway? He goes, hey, I don't know. I'll have to go find out. So we still don't know. But as soon as we do, we will let you guys know. All right, next question. Randall Kelly asks, looks like not too many peeps in the room, so not so crowded this year. Yeah, definitely, I think attendance definitely was down a little bit. I noticed it was easier to move through the aisles than it has been in the past. Certainly a really good sized crowd, and especially the customs guys seem to have done really well. The people that came were excited to be there, and they were ready to buy stuff, and buy stuff they did. But yeah, in terms of actual raw numbers of attendance, definitely was a little bit lighter at this point than it has been in years past. But still a phenomenal show. I think yes, next year is going to be really insane. Seth Works asks, can one purchase knives at the show? Yes and no. Yeah, knives are for sale everywhere. In terms of the customs guys, everyone's selling. In terms of the production folks there, some do have some things to sell, but others are just there to showcase because they don't want to compete with their dealer network so much. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag in terms of the production stuff out there. But yeah, man, customs, they're selling all day long. All right, next question. Veteran EDC asks, what did you buy? Cool. I'm actually going to bring in Seth, our Instagram and Facebook guru, who was also there with us at the show, and we'll both kind of go over the things that we bought. So give us 1 second. All right, everyone, say hello to Seth V. Say hi.
Hello.
Hi, Seth.
Hi, Thomas.
Hi, Thomas.
So Seth runs our Instagram and Facebook channels day to day, and maybe even at least as big of a knife nerd as I am. And we had a lot of fun at the show. Unfortunately, running around the way we do, it's harder to buy like a lot of things. But we each did pick up a few really nice things. And why don't I start? I'll start with the first thing I bought. One of the things I was kind of looking for when I went into the show, I wanted to buy a paring knife for my kitchen from one of my friends. And I picked this up from Dogwood Custom Knives. I don't think I'm going to actually use this as my paring knife. I actually commissioned another paring knife from another friend of mine while I was there. But this is going to be a really cool kind of EDC knife. This is the Cub. It comes with a leather sheath, which I have over here. Nice low profile JRE Industries sheath. And this is one of 4 Magna Cut Cubs that he brought to the show. The other 3 will be available here at the KnifeCenter. I went over and cleaned out his MagnaCut stuff. A couple of chef knives too. But nice 64th thin, nice high grind on there, so really slicey. You got that MagnaCut. And really cool burlap micarta with the black bolster. You even got black micarta pin there that just kind of hides away.
Yeah, it disappears.
Really does. But Dan's stuff is great. The patterns are kind of classically simple and just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, he does really clean work. So look for those to come very soon. What was something you picked up here?
Well, this right here, ProTech Runt 5 is mine.
The one we looked at earlier.
Yeah. This was, actually, I bought this in the first 20 minutes of hitting the show floor. I had headed straight to ProTech. I knew they had some new stuff.
You always have to act fast at Blade Show. That's kind of a piece of advice I usually like to give. If you see something you like, don't come back to buy it later. You gotta... Yeah,
it's an emotional decision. And I have no regrets. This one is my first automatic knife, actually.
Heck of a way to start.
Yeah, I mean, I've always admired ProTech's quality, their designs. I love how clean they look. They never have any hardware that doesn't need to be there. And they're just killing it. I mean, these were a show special, so they have polished hollow ground blades. Production versions will have 20 CV, which is a nice upgrade.
First auto they've done, first runt they've done in that steel anyway, for production level.
Yes.
I really like the abalone on the firing button there too.
Yeah, it's really lovely.
I think the production ones are going to have smooth fronts though, I think.
I'm not sure. All of the versions I know will have this little spot of texture, which is something that immediately caught my eye.
Feels really good.
Yeah, it just makes it a nice tactile object. I find myself just kind of rolling this over in my hands. I mean, it's smooth, it's grippy at the same time, and then when you want a blade, it's just instantaneous.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really find myself, this one's stuck in my pocket.
For the first 20 minutes, that's quite a get.
Yeah.
That was kind of the thing with Dogwood there. It was kind of the same thing. As soon as I was able to get in, I went straight over there because I knew he had those, and it was like, yeah, I need to have those.
Yeah, this is cool. I could see it as a paring knife, but it would make a great EDC. The handle is a little compact, but it's so smooth, it just nestles right in there. And with that nice leather sheath, I mean, it'll be comfortable to carry.
Oh yeah.
And I'm so curious how MagnaCut is actually going to perform.
Me too. Like, it's, as I was telling them earlier, it was kind of the talk of the town at Blade Show. And given that though, it's a pretty thin blade. I mean, you've got good toughness with it, but I don't know how like hard I'm gonna push this knife because I enjoy it so much. Yeah, it's gonna be really nice.
Yeah.
Folks out there, you guys know I am a fixed blade, especially a small fixed blade guy. I actually only bought 2 knives at the show and commissioned the third. The other one is the Hinderer Flashpoint in the Battlefield pickup finish, which I don't know how it ever escaped my attention before, but I always thought the Flashpoint was a larger knife. But man, you got the handle, like the shape of the XM18 just scaled down. 3.5 fingers, maybe just a 3 finger for me. Nice downward canted blade, 20 CV in this case. And the Battlefield pickup finish is always just so fun to look at. It's like pre-scuffed jeans, which I actually usually scoff at those. But I really, really dig the aesthetic on these guys. So I'll hand that to you. See what you have to say.
Yeah, I mean, the XM18 is just one of those legendary designs. It's so comfortable and just it sticks in your hand. You know, like once you get it into a grip, you're going to use it. It just feels locked in. Very thin though, these fixed blades. Mm-hmm. It's almost more portable than the folding version, weirdly. Yeah, I'd say that. So it does come with a neck chain on the Kydex sheath right there, so it's going to be very, very easy to carry that way. I haven't done it yet, but I think I'm going to throw an ulti clip on there and pocket carry this bad boy. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, this reminds me of those battle-worn action figures. It's got some like little, I don't know if you could pick it up on camera. Yeah, there's some scarring there. Scars, little scuffs on the pins themselves, on the bolts, I mean. Very cool. Yeah.
Just a lot of fun. We were filming that. Thomas got a little frustrated with them because he was filming his close-ups for our Hinder interview. This was the one that was in the video. And as soon as he set that one down to pick the next one up, the gal there who was going to ring me up grabbed it and was like, "I'll pack that up for you." And Thomas goes, "Dang it." Ruined a shot, but it's fine. So yeah, that's the only 2 knives that I brought home for myself from the show. I know you brought a couple that you had second thoughts about. You're kind of going to let go, but there's
I mentioned emotional decisions.
Yeah.
Sometimes they take you to places you wish you didn't go. But no regrets. You may see those knives later.
I really like the other knife that you're keeping though.
Yes, I have it here. Hold on, give me a second to find it. So sorry in advance, Thomas. But
I'm gonna need my macro lens for this.
Yeah, one of the cool things about Blade Show is that it's not just manufacturers, it's not just knife fans. There were a number of very serious collectors who actually set up booths.
I didn't mention that earlier. We were talking about the custom makers as well. But yeah, I mean, there's some smaller custom collectors that some may be dealers, some may just be real avid collector people. And they're making deals on some really crazy vintage stuff all weekend long.
Yeah, this was a guy I struck up a conversation with. He just had a table full of curios, one of which was a little display of miniature knives. This one is I believe it's an ivory-handled slip joint.
Is it actual ivory?
I think so.
It's got kind of that yellow synthetic look of the cases, but yeah, there's some more grain in there.
He didn't know a lot about it. He said he thought it was made in France, but the thing I loved about it is it has an actual nail nick, which makes it completely usable, and it is sharp.
It might be a new genre of earring knife.
Yeah, the little bail, if you want to call it that, at the end here. I could see it as a charm, an earring.
Yeah, a little bracelet charm. Sure.
So I don't know how I'm going to carry this, but for now it's living in my pocket, and it's just bringing me a lot of joy.
Just really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool stuff. Yeah, it's I have come home from Blade Show before with, like a dozen or so blades that I've either... It's interesting, I've never actually been to a Blade Show completely solo. Like, I've always worked when I was going to Blade Show. Before my KnifeCenter days, I wrote for a blog. Seth also wrote for a blog as well, but actually his first Blade Show.
Yeah.
Not your first SHOT Show. But yeah, I've come home from Blade with about a dozen or so knives that I either bought or were given for review or something like that. Just brought 2 knives home.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm growing up.
I already have a lot of knives, that's what it is.
It does slow down after a certain point. It's got to be a really special something to get you to pick up. If I had the money though, man, that fiddleback.
Oh.
One of the fiddlebacks we picked up would have come home with me, that's for sure. So, but anyway, Seth, thanks for joining us here.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We'll see him a little more here and there. All right, next question comes from TMC and some numbers. That's what I said earlier. 2 questions. Good questions. At Blade Show, there was an avocado being attacked by Godzilla. Who was wearing the Godzilla costume? You must be referring to this. Yes, there was an avocado walking around for some reason. There was also a Godzilla, and if you see someone in a Godzilla suit at any kind of Blade-related event, you can almost always assume that it is Joe Flowers. And it was indeed Joe Flowers, and it was really fun, like seeing him in the avocado get into a little bit of fisticuffs for fun. No idea who that avocado was. I asked Joe, no one knows. Great mystery of Blade Show 2021. Next question comes from Michael Morgan. I wish we could bottle Joe Flowers' energy and disposition so we can distribute Pardon me, folks. I wish we could bottle Joe Flowers' energy and disposition so we can distribute it to the masses. How fun would the world be? Very. Plus, we wouldn't need cocaine anymore. Also very true. And finally, HIS says, can't even imagine what it will be like to go camping with Joe. It's a lot of fun. I have been camping with Joe several times, and he's just as high energy while camping as you saw in the video, until we get a little bit later at night where we calm down and start having a few drinks. But yeah, he's a blast at camping trips as well. That's it for our Blade Show questions. Thank you everyone again for coming up and saying hi at the show, and thank you for submitting your questions as well. And give it up for Seth, too, for coming on and showing us his new knives. It was his first time on camera, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to having him on a little more regularly as we move forward to kind of get the groove of things going here, and maybe to mix things a little bit up here on the channel. But I'm not going anywhere, though. Don't worry anything about that. Just trying to spice things up and keep things fresh here. But anyway, if you want to see, well, normally I say if you want to get your hands on any of these knives, we'll leave links in the description. What I'll say instead is check out our Blade Show link below for all the stuff that is fresh from the show, and that page is going to continue to be updated over the next week or so, maybe even longer, just because of the sheer quantity of stuff that we brought back with us from the show. And if you're going to pick one of those things up, you might as well earn some free money to spend on your next knife, so make sure you sign up for our Knife Rewards program. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center, signing off. See you next time.
Who are you again?
David C. Anderson.